So in this episode of Buzzy Bee Esther, I want to talk more about struggling with the medical medium protocols. I know that I've said this several times throughout my other episodes, but this is just kind of a real sit down and talk. Doing this lifestyle is not easy. So I wanted to give you more information about my summer and fall struggle bus, how it started, how it's going, why it's so difficult to get back on track with the cleanses and stuff. And also I want to put a note on about addictions. So I'll be putting another longer post about that because there's a lot with addictions and I'm really excited. I'm actually getting the Brain Saver books on Tuesday. And I know that he's going to talk more about food addictions and how to help, subside those cravings and things like that. So look out for those after I do this morning routine. I'll definitely be putting some about that stuff later. So just to introduce you a little bit to this content here, I've been struggling with following the medical medium protocols, which mostly is no dairy, no eggs, no gluten are the three main things. And then of course staying away from corn and a bunch of other stuff and eating a bunch of fruits and veggies and herbs to help heal. So following all those protocols has been very difficult for me, and I've pretty much been cheating on them mostly at night since my birthday, May 17th of this year, 2022. The medical medium protocols are not easy, especially because there's not many people around me that want to follow his protocols. In fact, a lot of people think that I'm a little crazy for following him, but I have been living proof that this stuff does work. And again, I'm not chronically ill, so my situation is a little bit different. I'm not on Mattress Island. I still function, I still do things, but doing the changes that I have done, I've experienced so many great things. And, people just aren't there. They complain about headaches, they complain about all kinds of ailments that they're dealing with, but they just don't want to listen to what I have to say for what they can do to heal it, because changing your diet is extremely difficult. Another piece of information is that my husband kind of guilt trips me sometimes, and he even said one time that I've changed. And looking back, we've done pretty much our whole relationship was surrounded around going out to eat and enjoying meals together and going to the movies and having popcorn and whatever. So me doing these changes has definitely affected our relationship. And I really am still trying to figure out what I can do to kind of get us to eat dinners together and still, follow what I need to do to follow the medical medium protocols. I'm just not there yet. The people I follow on social media, they've been doing it for 4+ years, 5+ years and ongoing, and they look like they have the perfect medical medium life. They start with their smoothies, their lunches are perfect, their dinners are salads and different things, but I'm still craving like a buffalo chicken sandwich. I'm still craving that pizza that my husband's eating and I want a slice. So I'm just not there yet. So I've been cheating again, mostly at night, and sometimes I do cheat in the morning. That's not very often though. So this is how my spiral started. Last year, 2021, for my birthday, I actually ended up doing a 369 cleanse on my birthday because the medical medium says that the cells regenerate every 3 years, and especially it's important by your birthday to follow this cleanse because they are regenerative. And during your birthday is a really good time to help that process along. So I did a 369 cleanse during my birthday in 2021. I made a medical medium cake with icing that ended up actually failing. The coconut icing I couldn't get right, so I ended up using just a regular icing. But I also asked for no butter on my steak, and just my meal in general just wasn't as much as I usually enjoy. So I was kind of disappointed in that meal. And then I actually went out drinking with some friends right after the cleanse, and I felt terrible. So this time around, I wanted to kind of take an easier approach because I enjoy going out to eat and drinking with friends and things. And this year I decided that I was going to do that instead of being on, cleanses the whole time. So my goal this year was to do a mono cleanse up to my birthday, cheat for my birthday, and then stop doing the cheating and continue with mono cleansing after my birthday. However, I ended up getting sick, and that's how my spiral started. So I ended up getting sick with a cold and an earache, and anytime I get sick, I go back to my comfort foods. I think it's just, kind of programmed into me that you have that chicken noodle soup, you have some apple juice. You do eat lighter, but I definitely don't feel like eating a fresh salad and a smoothie when I'm sick. I want that comfort food, which I grew up on. So that's part of it. And also, being sick, I don't feel like making anything. When I do medical medium protocols, I have to make all my own food, which is partly why I called this Buzzy Bee Esther. Originally it was supposed to be Busy Bee Esther, because I've been busy in the kitchen making my own stuff a lot more than I used to. I'm still not great with it, especially dinner time is a hard time with me, again, because I'm eating with my husband and he does not like to eat this way. So I've been trying to just get in the habit of cooking something for dinner. I'm still not there yet. We end up ordering out a lot, and that's kind of where my pitfalls are. Again, when I follow the cleanses and things, I follow it very strictly. But outside of a cleanse, I am eating, pizza for dinner sometimes. I love pasta and stuff. I'm in Delaware County, which is a huge Italian population, and there's double decker, which is fried inside outs. Basically fried strombolis, if you're not familiar with an inside out. There's a ton of really, really good food that's just not the best for you, and it's really hard to give those things up. And when I'm sick, a smoothie just doesn't seem that good to me. Smelling a fresh thing of pizza, depending on if I'm sick, where my nasals are all clogged up, but smelling that fresh, garlicky pizza, Italian, whatever, is so much more appetizing and a quick thing, especially when you order it, than cooking my own salad and things like that. So here's another note on cheating for the medical medium protocols. This year, for the mono cleanse, I actually went into detail on what I did, because I pretty much started the mono cleansing in February 21st. I did the first one for 4 days, and then I cheated because there was something going on for the weekend, so I indulged. And then in March, I did another one, and pretty much throughout March, April, and May, I did on and off mono cleansing for 4, 3, 5 days, anywhere within that range. And then right before my birthday, starting on 4/29, I did a 15-day mono cleanse. And again, this is when I was talking about earlier that I was trying to stay mono cleansing and then cheat for my birthday and go back to mono cleansing, but that's extremely difficult to do, especially because I was doing, so if you're not familiar with mono cleansing is eating either just steamed potatoes and some lettuce and still staying with your lemon water and celery juice in the morning, and that you eat that all day. So there's no limit to how many potatoes you can have, and it is very satiating, but it's very bland. So like even just putting some extra garlic powder and onion powder on the potatoes is something that you're not supposed to do on a mono cleanse. The whole idea of the mono cleanse is that it's supposed to help calm down your digestive system and help you basically clear out all of the bad stuff that's in there. And I was doing that off and on, and I think that, the mono cleanse can be very powerful, but I think that it was clearing out a lot, and then me cheating and eating the dairy, the gluten, different things, especially with that Italian food, I either jump-started or maybe caught something, I'm not really sure, but I ended up getting sick with that earache, and I was completely frustrated because it was taking a lot of effort to do these cleanses. And I will say too that the mono cleansing was probably one of the easier cleanses I've done, because it was just the same thing all day long. It was the most boring as far as what to eat. However, as far as prep and as far as prep and getting everything together, it was the easiest. So I think that's why I stuck with it for so long. But I got pretty sick with a really bad ear infection, and I didn't want to take an antibiotic for it because, antibiotics can set you back a couple years according to medical medium. So, and I know that I have antibiotic resistant strep in me. So I really didn't want to take an antibiotic. I ended up getting a dropper, but this earache lasted a good all the way into, I want to say, the beginning of July. So it was still like an earache, and it was what's it called, it felt like it was popped, so it just didn't feel good. And I was actually using mullein leaf oil, which was really helpful for making it not so painful. And I was using a steroid that I was prescribed to put the eardrops in because I thought that was better than getting an antibiotic. Looking back, I kind of wish I just did the antibiotic because that ear infection really hurt, and it kind of set me back, I think, more because I was trying so hard to do different things. And I don't have an answer for that. The medical medium community actually set out a Facebook post for asking for advice for this ear infection, and I ended up saying that off of the mono cleansing, I ended up eating a cheesesteak and some other things that you're not supposed to eat. And I just kind of was real on this Facebook post and said, hey guys, I'm struggling here. I have an earache. I know that you're not supposed to eat this stuff, but what is your advice? Have you guys ever dealt with this? And a response I got was, why would you eat gluten and dairy? ? Well, the reason why I'm eating that stuff is because, again, I'm sick and I'm going back to my comfort foods. I have these habits in me, these, I guess, addictions. I definitely think I'm addicted to dairy. And it's really hard to give them up. So there were some really good comments about it, and others were just kind of really judgmental. And I'm hoping that through this content, you guys can see that it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you're doing some things, you will make steps in the right direction. And if you want to make more steps in that right direction, then obviously you have to do more of those things, right? So I really just want to give you a different stance, and I'm just kind of pouring it all out here. So I hope that this helped you. I wanted to talk more about what I did before I had this cheating spree of just eating dairy and gluten pretty much every night. Before this cheating streak since my birthday, I would stay away from dairy, gluten, and eggs pretty much indefinitely. I went for the vegan cheeses, I tried everything. The best thing that I thought was definitely Mayoko's Creamery, but the vegan cheeses honestly are just not that good. I consider myself to be a cheesehead, and I absolutely love all the different kinds, like a good Parmesan, a sharp white cheddar, like all that stuff really, really is good to me. So having all that fake cheese just wasn't working for me. It just wasn't very good. So I also used a fake butter, which actually the fake butter was pretty good. I did not find that I missed regular butter. However, I found out from Medical Medium on one of his lives that the natural flavors in products, which definitely wasn't fake butter to get that butter flavoring, the fake butter actually had a lot of natural flavors. And that is really terrible for your brain. He says that the natural flavors is basically hidden MSG, and it goes straight to your midbrain, which is connects your hemispheres. And he was mentioning that it's really terrible. And I actually noticed that after I watched that a little bit, I paid attention to after I had maybe a bag of Doritos, because Doritos actually has MSG written on the ingredients. It's not even hidden. But there are a lot of hidden MSG ingredients in products. So I would just kind of sit after I ate and notice that I would feel like a pressure, and I definitely felt it in my head. And sometimes I feel that too after doing a heavy metal detox smoothie, but I know that it's pulling out things. But then the other, on the flip side of that, when I eat the bad stuff, I know it's kind of attaching to neurons and other things in my brain that isn't good. I can actually feel it happening. And from his information, I know that, what's good and what's bad. And it's kind of crazy to feel that. And I'm very grateful for that information to know that. The medical medium actually says that natural flavors are terrible for your brain. On his blog post about troublemaker foods that make us sick, food chemicals, he includes a MSG, which is monosodium glutamate. So there are 2 paragraphs here. He says that MSG builds up in your brain. It goes deep into your brain tissue and can cause inflammation and swelling and kill thousands of brain cells. It disrupts the electrical impulses. It weakens neurotransmitters, which are your brain cells. It burns out neurons. It also makes you feel confused and anxious. It can even lead to microstrokes. It weakens and injures your central nervous system, and it's especially harmful if you have an illness that involves your brain or central nervous system. So that's stage 4 Epstein-Barr, which most people have, and a bunch of other things like fibromyalgia. All that kind of stuff is definitely stage 4 Epstein-Barr. As a result of eating MSG, it is very addictive and you should just try to stay away from it. So reading about that and hearing about it on his live, I was, weighing my options. Is should I just go for the dairy that's, full fat or whatever? Or should I stay away from the MSG? Because the addictive part is definitely something I have to reckon with. So if you're confused about if your food has MSG in it, here's a list of things that are MSG, which is kind of crazy because I didn't know some of these. So I'm just going to look at this list. So if you have ingredients where it says all the ingredients on the back of a box, if it says any of these words, it means that that's hidden MSG. So glutamate, hydrolyzed, autolyzed, protease, carrageenan, maltodextrin, sodium caseinate, balsamic vinegar. That one I did not know because I love balsamic vinegar. But again, it's probably addictive. Barley malt extract, yeast extract, brewer's yeast, cornstarch, wheat starch, modified food starch, gelatin, textured protein, whey protein, soy sauce, broth, bouillon, stock, and seasoning. So like those bouillon cubes that I used to eat in, a chicken stock, chicken soup recipe, MSG. So that's kind of crazy. And it's overwhelming to see all of that stuff. It's literally, you can't have processed food. If you're going to eat 100% medical medium, just don't pick up that box of anything that pretty much the market sells. If you do want processed things, you have to go for Simple Mills is a really good one. There are some things, but they usually tend to be, twice as much money too. So that's also part of it. So it's not easy. Again, the stuff is just not easy to follow when literally pretty much everything I used to eat is not okay to eat right now. So it's going to be a work in progress. Stay tuned to find out more. So I actually recently also listened to Alyssa Delgato's story on the Medical Medium podcast. She's a singer-songwriter, and she had a ton of chronic symptoms come up pretty much as soon as she got her menstrual cycle when she was very young. Her story brought me to tears several times listening to this. And one of the things that she mentioned is that she started with, the dairy-free options that you have in the store, the vegan options. And then she took away the natural flavors and the MSG and things like that. So when she started, she kind of was following as he was making the books. I started following him pretty much when he had 5 books out so far, so I got all the information at once. And the way she did it is she gradually incorporated things, and she pretty much took away the first list of no foods right away, but she didn't stay away from the MSG and stuff because she didn't know about it until, either, I think she said a radio show, I'm not sure exactly where she found it, but when she found it, then she started taking away the other stuff. So for me, I'm hearing all this information at once, and I'm kind of like, what do I do? It's a lot to take in at once. So I still kind of don't have an answer. I don't know if it's better to have dairy or if it's better to have MSG and do the dairy-free options. I really don't know because the dairy-free options kind of taste gross to me. So for me, I'm going to go back to the dairy because I might as well just eat what I want because it tastes good, and then hopefully I can kind of wean myself off of it a little more naturally and maybe get rid of those addictions. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So if you have any advice for that, you can leave a comment. I would appreciate it because I'm still kind of struggling with that. Additionally, I did want to say too that the Natural Favors ingredient for the no foods, which includes the MSG and everything, that is a little further down in the no foods list. So he has tiers of these no foods lists listed in Cleanse to Heal. And on tier 1, it's that gluten, dairy, eggs. And then I think it's tier 4 or 5 that says like MSG and stuff. So looking at those tiers, maybe it's better to stay away from the MSG first. I'm struggling with that part of it. The next section is all about how eating the no foods makes me feel. The biggest thing I've learned about the MM protocols is I'm actually tuning into my body and listening to it more and noticing how it feels after I eat meals. I learned what food makes me feel good and energized and what foods make me feel a little lethargic and maybe starting to get a headache or sparks my acid reflux and things like that. So it definitely just it teaches you a lot in that manner. So first, every time I cheat, I always gain my weight back. So if I'm on a cleanse and I've done a 369 or a mono cleanse or another version of one of the cleanses in there, more specifically if I follow a cleanse that goes into dinner time, because I always do the morning cleanse, but the dinner time cleanses would be the 369 or the mono cleanses I've done. And I would always lose, 6 pounds in a week, 5 pounds in a week, but then if I go and eat that pasta, I'll gain a couple pounds back. And if I stay eating the fattening things at night that aren't great for you, then I will continue gaining weight. And I actually, through the summer, I ended up gaining all the weight that I lost back. And I know that if I just go back to a cleanse that I could lose it pretty easily, but that was a little disheartening. And that also was motivation for me to want to go back to the cleanses. So in the summer, I don't have a routine. I'm a school teacher, and in the summer I can do whatever I want, which is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I get to sleep in, I get to, binge watch Netflix and do whatever I want. But then it's a curse because sleeping in and not being on a routine really messes up my eating schedule. On top of that, summer is usually a time where I go to visit friends that I haven't caught up with in a while, or I'll go down the shore, and all of those places will usually go out to eat and drink. Or down the shore, we'll usually go out to eat and have, all kinds of treats that the shore offers. So in the summers, honestly, I gained most of it back in the summer because I just kind of did whatever I wanted. And I wasn't as strict with doing the celery juice every day when I went to the shore and things. So, this is just kind of a balancing routine. I'm trying to figure out how to make this work with my lifestyle without changing it completely. And I'm coming to the realization that I'm probably going to have to change some things pretty completely. But again, I'm still figuring that part out. Next, I want to delve a little bit more into addictions. I want to talk about my addictions in this section, and also what the medical medium and food babes say about addictions. I did touch upon the medical medium information already in the natural flavors section where I talked about, what natural flavors do. So that's pretty much it. MSG is addictive and try to stay away from it. And for my addictions, despite all the challenges that I have been dealt with and, staying with the dairy and things, I have stayed with my morning routine. I still do if I'm down the shore, it was lemon water and some kind of fruit or some kind of smoothie. And then when I'm at home or any other time, it's always the lemon water, celery juice smoothie of some sort. A lot of times it's that heavy metal detox smoothie. And the afternoon I try to stay fat free, but sometimes it's a salad with some fat in it and things like that. And then in the evening I usually cheat. So that's been where I've been at. And also before I cheated, I would stay away from that gluten, dairy, and eggs completely all day. So eggs are hard for me only because of desserts, cakes, and cookies. I never really was a fan of eating a breakfast of eggs before, but the desserts, cakes, and cookies, I know that there's eggs in a lot of that, and I absolutely love. I have a sweet tooth, and I love specifically those things, not just fruit, specifically like cakes and cookies and chocolate is really what I'm addicted to. As far as dairy, I am definitely addicted to dairy. And gluten, I've never really craved, but I do like a good pasta with some Alfredo sauce and things like that. So pretty much have been eating all of those three things since my birthday. And again, I want to try and get back to moving away from indulging so much. So that's what I'm working. As a side note, I was eating Kukoboro wings at Outback for the time that I was trying to stay away from the cheese and dairy and things like that. And then I realized, I really, really enjoy these wings, and I would stay away from the blue cheese, and I thought I was doing good. Just eating some meat, maybe a little fried meat wasn't the best, but it was just some meat and some celery and maybe a salad with no cheese. And I decided to look up a recipe for the Kukoboro wings, because a lot of times there's copycat recipes for restaurants, and in the recipes it actually had a cheese powder listed as one of the ingredients. So I put two and two together, and I think that the Kukoboro wings have cheese powder in them, and that's partly why it tastes so delicious. So I try to stay away from them now if I am trying to do the dairy-free options, and it's just really disappointing because, you know, when you think you're doing good and then you find out they have something in there, it's really difficult. So pretty much a lot of restaurants still use butter on meats, so it's just hard to find a balance with enjoying going out with your friends and also following medical medium protocols. Finally, I want to talk about outside help and how important that is. So I've actually been meeting with a nutritionist for the past 3 years, before I found medical medium information, and I meet with her every 2 months. So for these informational meetings, I kind of just go through what I've been doing, and she tells me 3 to 5 goals to work on before our next meeting. And I find these meetings very beneficial because if it was just up to me, I would completely fall apart with trying to eat healthier and do different things in general. You know, she's kind of like a beacon and like a focuser to try and get me, you know, realize, hey, things aren't as bad as I was originally thinking, and also I could try XYZ to improve on those things. So it's just really helpful, and I highly recommend that you get some kind of coach or some kind of dietitian or nutritionist that will support you in your journey to finding better habits to eat better and feel better about yourself. I found Joy through a friend, and she had mentioned that she actually uses our insurance and she doesn't have to pay a copay or anything for these nutritionist visits. So I thought that, you know, that was perfect for me, for my budget. I don't have a lot of money, and I encourage you guys to look at your options. So if you find a dietitian, realize they may not follow medical medium if that's really what you want to do, but if you tell them your goals and what you're trying to do, then they can give you good strategies and goals and be like that checkpoint to say, hey, have you met your goals? Let's try to reevaluate them. Just having that outside influence and help can really be beneficial. And you can find coaches online. I think eventually down the line I might try to be a coach, but I'm just not there yet. There's a bunch of people on Instagram that specifically do medical medium coaching, and then there's also, you could find your local dietitian or nutritionist and ask them to help you with these goals. If they don't follow medical medium, you have to be a little bit more voicing what you want, but that I really, really recommend getting some outside help. So in July, I had a meeting with Joy, and I mentioned that I wanted to go back to a mono cleanse, and she encouraged me to do that. And she, for one of the goals, she put go back to greens and smoothies and things like that. So after the meeting, I ended up actually going to an energy healer and Reiki practitioner, and she mentioned to me that I should calm down with doing the cleanses because she could tell that it was stressing me out. And if you know anything about Reiki and energy healing, it goes along with your spirit guides and things like that. So I absolutely love talking about that stuff, but I'm not going to focus on that in this channel. So if you're interested, look it up on YouTube. It's really, really interesting. But basically, after this meeting, I decided to back off of the cleanses and just enjoy the summer. So that's also partly why I kind of did a free-for-all. And I am kind of really disappointed, though, about gaining all the weight back, because she did also mention that my guides were mentioning it's okay to try and still lose the weight, but don't stress myself out about eating. And actually, after that, I saw a couple of things where it was saying the same kind of message, like stop stressing over it. Because what I would do was I would do the cleanses, and then I would stop, and then I would stress about starting the cleanses up again, because every time I would stop, it was really hard to start them back up again. I think partly because the mono cleansing was so bland, I just didn't enjoy it, and I'm a foodie. I love, you know, flavor and all the things. So I think I just need to find that middle ground and like experiment with the medical medium recipes more and just try to do those different things. That's where I'm at, and that's also why I wanted to start this Buzzy Bee Esters, really get into experimenting with those different recipes and just showing you how to do it. Because part of, you know, I actually started intermittent fasting for a while before I found medical medium, And part of what motivated me to do that was I found a bunch of YouTube people that explained how they did it and what they did for it. And also vegan recipes. If I've tried any, I would just look online, specifically the cheese stuff, and I would try those things out. So looking up medical medium on YouTube, I could find no one. And that's also partly why I wanted to start this channel, so you can see these simple and easy recipes. And they really are very simple. It's just, like, I think it's a mind thing for me. Like, I have to actually make it a point to make these recipes and figure out a good dinner option, because sometimes I'll have a recipe that's from him and then I'll still be hungry, or I'll still be craving that chicken or something that I didn't have. And I'm still figuring that part out. So again, I hope that this story, helps you out. And when I figure it out, I will definitely share it. And I know that this one was kind of a lot of like, oh, medical medium is so hard. Despite it being so hard, it is so amazing at the same time. The medical medium information has never changed. Since I've been following for 2 years, he's always said the same things. And that's been a really big indicator to me that he knows what he's talking about. And he also wants to help us. I see influencers and different people on social media talking about juicing and all the things, and then the next day they're selling coffee. And I know that coffee is not good for you because medical medium says so. And it really disappoints me. And I'm not saying that these people are bad. Like, they could just be trying to be healthier, and that coffee in the morning doesn't really bother them. But if you're chronically ill and you have a big pathogen overload, that coffee in the morning can really put you, in the bad place of not healing as much. So give your chance that liver in the morning. That's really what I want you to get out of this series. And I'm going to talk about all the things I do in the morning, because I feel like I really have my morning routine solid. And I would like to share that with you. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. And if you like content like this, you want to follow my journey on trying to figure out this medical medium lifestyle, please like and subscribe. And, every once in a while we'll put a short about me going out on the weekend and things like that. So I hope you guys like that too. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye. It redoes the cells, and her story brought me to tears. For me, to